Welcome back to AM Northwest. As more schools gear up to implement a no phone policy, how should parents manage that change? Here with his always helpful tips, we welcome back the author of Staying Connected with Your Teen, family therapist Yshai Boussi. Good to see you again, Yshai.
Great to be here.
This is a really good topic because so many parents are dealing with this and so many schools are trying to figure out what to do next. Some schools in Portland have completely banned phones. But talk to me about a book that you wanted to bring up called Anxious Generation.
Yeah, so this is a book that came out recently, this last year in 2024, and has gotten a ton of attention. And in some ways, it's been a good thing. And the premise of the book, the author, Jonathan Haidt, is that social media is causing anxiety, the epidemic of anxiety and depression in youth. And he offers some very concrete recommendations. For example, he says, youth shouldn't get ideally social media until they're 16. No phones till you're 14. So a lot of folks, a lot of parents and those in the community are taking note on his recommendations in this book. As a family therapist, as somebody who sits with parents, sits with teens, and I'm having these conversations often, I think I will say first, there are a lot of parts of this book that I think are great. I think there does need to be more accountability and responsibility to tech companies because these apps are causing harm to many young people. They are not trying to think about privacy and safety for kids.
Absolutely.
So I think they're now on a kind of global, broader level.
Right.
On a day-to-day level, though, when I think about the parents I sit with whose kids really are struggling with mental health issues, I'm concerned about recommendations that, one, are questionable in terms of the science and the data. There are many researchers, well-known scientists, and the consensus of researchers are saying that social media doesn't in fact cause depression, anxiety. It correlates, certainly, but the picture is more complicated. And when I talk with parents and families, we gotta talk about the complexity and nuance. How do we support youth and their mental health in ways that aren't just take away the phone, get rid of the apps? We have to teach them. And so that's what a conversation I want to have. I want to help parents not feel panicked because this book is causing a lot of people to panic and freak out. Oh my gosh. And then give some more practical tools beyond just take your kid's phone away. I see too many battles, too many fights and conflicts over taking phones away. And then what about kids who do have the social media apps?
Right.
What do we do?
Well, I mean, I can see schools though needing kids to pay attention in class.
Yeah.
So taking the phone away then kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And when I've heard our reporters interview kids, most of them love the idea of no one dealing with their phones during class.
Yeah. And I was really interested in this because so I'm talking to kids, I'm asking them, what do you guys think? And I am hearing this as well, that kids they're on their phones less. There are certainly workarounds to these things. I won't share them because I don't want, but.
You're saying the ways that kids can sneak a phone in.
Sneak phones in.
Okay.
So, but on the whole, they're on their phones less in the classroom. They're more focused. And for the kids who are trying to learn and are distracted, they're less distracted because their peers aren't on their phones as much. And so I think there are so many benefits to this. And this is one recommendation I actually do agree with because it does seem to be helping learning and benefiting learning.
Well, I would also think too, social interaction with kids, because I've heard that lunchtimes for schools that still don't have that keep phones away from their kids during the lunchtime as well, the kids are interacting and making friends.
I think that's true. That's also debatable, though. It's questionable. There are a lot of young people who are saying we want our phones during lunch. During class, we agree, but during lunch, this is when we
catch up,
decompress, we catch up. Sometimes we're figuring out making plans for after school or with our family, or we're doing different things, and then they'll say, our teachers are on their phones on their lunch breaks.
Well, there's that.
You know, so modeling is obviously a certain thing, and they're paying attention to what we're doing as well. So that kind of expands the picture.
What would you say to parents about social media and what age they should be able to access it?
Well, one is I want to get away from phone shaming. Which is we judge parents if their kids have a phone when they're too young or they're on social media, and we think this is sort of this so I want to let go of that first. And there is not one right answer, Helen. That's the message.
It depends
here.
on the kid, right?
It depends on the kid and your relationship with the kid. I know incredibly successful young people who are 12 who have Instagram or Snapchat on their phone, but those kids and those parents are involved with those kids.
Right.
And those parents are thinking, you know what? you're young for this, but you're going to have it, and we're going to do this together. The parents have the password. The parents are sitting with them. The parents are following him. They're doing this together and teaching their kids. This is the world young people live in.
Right.
The internet to them is social media.
Right.
So how do we help them not just not have it or delay it, but be safe on there, be responsible, learn how to use it in a way that's going to help them be successful and not go down the rabbit hole. So we got to think about that as well.
Right. I mean, so your top advice then is making sure you're involved. If your kid does have a phone, making sure you know who they're talking to and what they're looking at.
Yes, yes. And
Okay.
middle school, I think of you can think of social media as like driving. When we think about the analogy, if we think about driving, we don't just say, okay, you're 16 or even 18, here's
go
a
ahead.
car.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
yeah.
it's like you need to take a test, you need to learn, we need to have
Right.
conversations about safety, you're gonna get a permit, no kids in the car, peers for the first 6 months. There's all these things to build up.
Yeah.
And then you get your license, you might not even be ready to drive on the freeway all by yourself quite yet.
Right.
We ease into it.
Yeah.
Why aren't we thinking about that with social media as well? Training wheels. And middle school is a good time. I also respect not having social media in middle school. I think that could be really wise.
Yeah.
And I understand why some parents are going to give their kids limited social media access in middle school so they can be involved and help them learn how to be safe and
Right.
responsible.
Absolutely. All good information. Yshai, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Great.
All right, the book again is called Staying Connected with Your Teen, Yshai Boussi. All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away. Great job.